The stars looked different out here on the edge of known space. Captain Daniel Pierce stood on the bridge of the Terran battlecruiser Valiant, watching the view screen display thousands of points of light against the black void. They had been patrolling the Kepler expanse for 3 months now, and nothing unusual had happened. Just endless empty space and the occasional asteroid field. Daniel was a tall man with gray starting to show in his dark hair. He had served in the Terran Navy for 22 years, and most of that time had been spent looking at empty space. Humanity had spread across 12 star systems, built colonies on 30 worlds, and never once encountered another intelligent species. Some people thought they were alone in the universe. Daniel wasn't sure what he believed. Lieutenant Maya Crawford sat at the tactical station, her fingers moving across the holographic displays. She was young, only 28, but she had graduated top of her class at the Naval Academy. Her dark eyes were always watching the sensors, always looking for threats that never came. Sometimes Daniel wondered if all their training and weapons were just a waste of resources. The bridge was quiet except for the low hum of the ship's systems. Dr. Peter Grant sat at the science station, analyzing stellar data that probably nobody would ever read. Commander Lisa Barnes stood near the captain's chair, reviewing supply reports on a datapad. It was a normal day in the endless routine of frontier patrol. Then everything changed. Maya straightened in her chair, her eyes widening. "Captain, I'm picking up an energy signature at bearing 270. It's not natural." Daniel felt his heart rate increase. "What kind of signature?" "Unknown, sir. It's not matching anything in our database. The pattern is too regular to be a stellar phenomenon. Whatever it is, it's artificial." Dr. Grant practically jumped from his chair and rushed to the tactical station. "Let me see that." His hands flew across the controls, bringing up detailed scans. "Oh my God, Captain, this is a manufactured energy source. The signature indicates a power output far beyond anything we've ever created." Lisa moved closer to Daniel's chair. "Could it be one of our experimental ships?"
"Something from the research division?"
"Not out here," Daniel said. "And Command would have told us if they were running tests in our patrol sector." He took a deep breath. "Helm, adjust course. Take us toward that signature. Slow approach. Maya, bring weapons online, but keep them powered down. I don't want to look threatening." The Valiant changed course, its massive engines pushing it toward the unknown. As they got closer, the sensors began to pick up more data. The energy signature was moving. It was a ship. "Visual contact in 30 seconds, Maya reported. Daniel stood up from his chair, put it on the main screen. The view screen flickered and then displayed an image that made everyone on the bridge fall silent. The ship was enormous, at least twice the size of the Valiant. Its hull was a deep purple color that seemed to shimmer in the starlight. The design was nothing like human ships, which were all angles and armor plates. This vessel was smooth and elegant, with curved surfaces that looked almost organic. Strange symbols glowed along its hull, pulsing with a soft blue light. "That's not human," Lisa whispered. Peter was practically shaking with excitement. "We're looking at an alien starship. This is first contact. This is the most important moment in human history." Daniel felt a mixture of excitement and worry. "Maya, full scan. I want to know everything about that ship." "Scanning now, sir. The hull material is unknown. Energy shields are active and appear to be extremely powerful. I'm detecting multiple weapon systems, but they're not charging. Propulsion system is unlike anything I've seen. They're not using fusion like we do." "They're more advanced than us," Lisa said quietly. Before Daniel could respond, the communications console beeped. Lieutenant Jake Morris, the communications officer, looked up with wide eyes. "Captain, they're hailing us. Audio and visual. Are they speaking English?" Peter asked. "No, sir. But their computer is translating in real time. They want to talk." Daniel straightened his uniform. "Put them through." The view screen changed, showing the interior of the alien ship. A being appeared on the screen, and it was beautiful in a strange way. It stood on 2 legs like a human, but was taller and thinner. Its skin was a pale blue color with silver patterns running across it. It had 4 arms, each ending in 3 long fingers. Its head was oval-shaped with large golden eyes that seemed to see everything. It wore flowing robes of deep red that moved even though there was no wind. When it spoke, the voice was musical and strange, but the translation came through clearly. "Greetings, vessel of unknown origin. I am Envoy Thelgzara of the Zirathi Collective. We have observed your ship entering this region of space. Your design and technology signature are unfamiliar to us. Please identify yourself and your people. Daniel took a step forward. I am Captain Daniel Pierce of the Terran battlecruiser Valiant. We represent humanity, a species from the planet Earth. This is our first contact with intelligent alien life. We come in peace. Thelxara tilted its head in a gesture that might have been curiosity. Terran, human, Earth, these terms are new to us. We have explored this galaxy for over 6,000 of your years, and have never encountered your species. You must be from a very distant region. We've only been traveling between stars for about 300 years, Daniel admitted. The alien's golden eyes seemed to shine brighter. 300 years. And you have already reached this far from your home? Interesting, though your vessel appears quite primitive compared to our standards. Your propulsion system uses nuclear fusion, yes? And your weapons appear to be kinetic projectiles. We abandoned such crude technology millennia ago. Daniel felt his jaw tighten but kept his voice calm. Our technology serves us well. I am certain it does for a developing species. Thelxara made a gesture with one of its hands. The Zarathi Collective consists of 12 intelligent species across 400 star systems. We have encountered many civilizations in our travels. We welcome you to the greater galactic community, though you must understand that as a new species there is much you have to learn. Peter stepped forward. We would be honored to learn from you. This is an incredible opportunity for cultural and scientific exchange. Indeed. Your enthusiasm is quite charming. Thelxara paused. We maintain an outpost not far from here, designated Sigma 7. We would like to invite you there for formal introductions. Other species of the collective would be interested in meeting humanity. It is rare that we discover a new spacefaring civilization, especially one so young in its development. Lisa leaned close to Daniel and whispered, I don't like how condescending they sound. Daniel nodded slightly, but addressed the alien. We would be happy to visit your outpost. When should we arrive? We will transmit the coordinates. Come when you are ready. I look forward to showing you the achievements of truly advanced civilizations. Perhaps we can help accelerate your technological development. You have much to learn about proper space travel and energy utilization. The screen went blank. The bridge was silent for a moment. Peter broke the silence first. This is amazing. We've just made first contact with an advanced alien civilization. An advanced alien civilization that thinks we're primitives, Maya said, her voice flat. They're more advanced, Lisa pointed out. Their ship is bigger, their shields are better, and they've been traveling space for thousands of years while we've barely started. Daniel sat back down in his chair, thinking. Jake, send a message to command. Full report on the contact. Tell them we're proceeding to the alien outpost as invited. Yes, sir. Maya, what's your assessment of their weapons? She studied her displays. Their energy weapons are powerful, no question. But Captain, their shields are designed to stop energy attacks. I noticed something. They don't seem to have any kinetic defense systems. Because they think kinetic weapons are primitive, Daniel said quietly. Exactly, sir. Peter looked confused. What are you suggesting? They're peaceful. They invited us to their station. I'm not suggesting anything, Daniel replied. But I didn't survive 22 years in the Navy by being careless. We go to their station, we're friendly and diplomatic, but we stay alert. Lisa, make sure all systems are in perfect working order. Maya, keep running analysis on their technology. I want to know everything we can learn. Understood, Captain. As the Valiant changed course toward the coordinates the aliens had sent, Daniel stared at the view screen. Humanity had just learned they were not alone in the universe. They had also learned that the aliens saw them as inferior, as children playing with toys. Maybe the Zarathi were right. Maybe humanity was primitive compared to them. But Daniel had a feeling that the aliens had made an assumption. They thought advanced technology meant everything. They had forgotten something important. Humanity had been fighting wars since before they discovered fire. Every weapon system on the Valiant had been designed by people who understood one thing very well: how to kill. The Zarathi outpost called Sigma 7 was the most impressive structure Daniel had ever seen. It orbited a massive gas giant with rings that sparkled like diamonds. The station itself was a collection of crystalline towers connected by glowing bridges, all spinning slowly in the void. Ships of various strange designs moved around it like insects around a flower. Some were small and dart-shaped. Others were huge and seemed to defy the laws of physics with their impossible angles. The Valiant looked crude next to them, Daniel had to admit. His ship was basically a long cylinder covered in armor plates and weapon turrets. It was built for function, not beauty. But it was also built to survive in a fight, and that counted for something. Ambassador Kyle Torres had joined them for the meeting. He was a young man with an eager smile who had studied alien cultures even though humanity had never met any aliens before. He stood on the bridge now, practically vibrating with excitement as they docked at the station. Captain Pierce, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. We need to make a good impression. Show them that humanity is ready to join the galactic community. We'll be polite, Daniel assured him. But we're not going to bow and scrape either. Lisa nodded in agreement. We represent Earth. We should act like equals, not students begging for approval. The docking process was smooth, and soon they were walking through the station's corridors. The interior was just as impressive as the exterior. The walls seemed to be made of light itself, shifting through different colors. Aliens of various species walked past them, and each one stopped to stare at the humans. Some looked curious, others looked amused, and a few looked dismissive. They entered a large chamber that reminded Daniel of an amphitheater. Dozens of aliens sat in curved rows of seats, all facing a central platform. Thelxara stood there, its forearms spread in welcome. Humans of Earth, welcome to Sigma-7. These representatives come from the 12 species of the Zerathi Collective. We have gathered to meet you and learn about your people. Daniel, Lisa, Kyle, and Peter walked to the center. Jake Morris and a security team stayed near the entrance, watching everything carefully. The meeting started well enough. Kyle explained about Earth, about human history and culture. The aliens listened with what seemed like polite interest. Then the demonstrations began, and Daniel started to feel uncomfortable. Thelxara gestured to one of the walls, which suddenly displayed images. Allow us to show you the achievements of the collective. This is our energy shield technology. It can withstand the output of a star for several minutes. No physical projectile can penetrate it. Another alien, a creature covered in silver scales, spoke up. Our faster-than-light communication system allows instant contact across thousands of light years. We can coordinate fleet movements across the entire galaxy in real time. A third alien, this one resembling a floating jellyfish made of metal, added its own boast. Our medical technology has eliminated disease and extended our lifespans by centuries. Death from natural causes is a choice, not an inevitability. Kyle was taking notes frantically, clearly amazed. Peter was asking questions about the scientific principles. But Daniel noticed something. Every demonstration was followed by a subtle comparison to human technology. The message was clear: you are inferior. Then a large alien stood up. It was nearly 8 feet tall, covered in thick armor plates that looked like they were part of its body. Its eyes glowed red, and when it spoke, its voice was like grinding stones. This was War Chief Kront of the Drexian species. I have reviewed your military databases, Kront announced. Daniel felt his blood go cold. How did you access our databases? Your computer security is quite simple to bypass. We wanted to understand your defensive capabilities. Kront made a sound that might have been laughter. Your weapons are fascinating in their primitivity. Railguns that throw metal slugs. Chemical rockets. Nuclear warheads. Tell me, do you also fight with swords and spears? Several aliens in the chamber made sounds that were clearly laughter. Daniel felt his hands form into fists, but he kept them at his sides. Kyle tried to smooth things over. Our technology may not be as advanced as yours, but we're always eager to learn and improve. Learn and improve, Kront repeated mockingly. Yes, you have much to learn. Your combat doctrine is particularly amusing. You train for fleet battles against equal opponents. You prepare for ground warfare. You maintain armies and weapons as if you expect constant conflict. The collective abandoned such barbaric thinking millennia ago. We maintain defense forces, Daniel said carefully, because we believe in being prepared. Prepared for what? Thelxara asked. You are alone in your region of space. You have no enemies. Building weapons when there is no threat is a waste of resources. It shows a violent and primitive mindset. Lisa stepped forward. We weren't alone, though, were we? You're here, and we had no way of knowing if whoever we met would be friendly or hostile. A fair point, Thelxara admitted. But now you know. The collective is peaceful. We have not fought a war in over 300 years. Our weapons exist only for defense against pirates and raiders, and even those conflicts are rare and brief. Peter raised his hand like a student in class. 300 years? That's remarkable. How did you achieve such lasting peace? Through superior technology, Kron said. When we encounter aggressive species, we simply demonstrate our power. They understand they cannot win and submit to collective authority. There is no need for actual warfare. You conquer them, Maya said quietly. She had come down from the ship with the second group. We enlighten them, Thelxara corrected. We bring them into civilization. We uplift their technology and culture. Is that not preferable to your human history of endless wars and bloodshed? Daniel was about to respond when Jake's communicator beeped urgently. The security chief stepped forward and whispered in Daniel's ear. The captain's expression darkened. We're receiving a distress signal, Daniel announced. A human colony ship called the New Horizon is under attack near the border of our space. The chamber fell silent. Then Thelxara spoke. Attacked by whom? Unknown. But they're requesting immediate assistance. Kront made a dismissive gesture. Most likely the Krill. They are raiders, outcasts, rejected by civilized society. They prey on weak targets. Your colony ship would certainly qualify as weak. We need to return to our ship and respond, Daniel said firmly. Of course. Thelxara agreed. However, I should warn you. The Krill use stolen collective technology. Their ships are well armed. If you engage them with your primitive weapons, you will likely be destroyed. Perhaps we should send a collective vessel to handle the situation. Daniel felt anger rising in his chest. That's a human ship with human civilians on board. We will respond. I admire your courage, Kront said, and this time his tone was almost sympathetic. But courage without power is suicide. Your railguns and missiles will do nothing against Krill shields. Your armor will not stop their energy weapons. I have seen your combat specifications. Your ship is a metal coffin. Kyle looked worried. Captain, perhaps we should consider accepting their help. If they have better weapon, we're going, Daniel said flatly. Ambassador, you can stay here if you want. Everyone else back to the ship, now. As they hurried back through the corridors, Peter caught up with Daniel. Captain, what Kront said might be true. We've never fought anyone with energy shields before. I know, Daniel replied, but I'm not going to stand by while humans are in danger. And I'm certainly not going to beg these condescending aliens to save us. They reached the Valiant and began emergency departure procedures. On the bridge, Maya was already analyzing the sensor data from the distress call. Captain, I'm reading 3 Krill ships surrounding the New Horizon. The colony ship is heavily damaged and venting atmosphere. They have maybe an hour before life support fails. How long to reach them? At maximum speed, 43 minutes. Do it. And Maya, prepare all weapons. Full combat loadout. Yes, sir. Lisa stood next to his chair. The Zerathi are launching ships. They're going to follow us. Probably want to watch us fail. Daniel smiled without humor. Let them watch. They think our weapons are primitive. They think we're barbaric and violent and unprepared for modern warfare. Maybe they're right about the first part. But there's something they haven't considered. What's that? Humanity has been fighting and killing each other for 10,000 years. We've had wars with swords, wars with guns, wars with nuclear weapons. We've fought in trenches and in cities and in space. We've made war into a science. These collective species haven't had a real fight in centuries. They've forgotten something important. What's that, sir? Daniel's expression was cold and hard. How to actually win one. The Valiant raced through space toward the battle, its weapons charging, its crew ready. Behind it, several Zerathi ships followed at a distance, their crews curious to see what would happen when the primitive humans met the Krill raiders. They were all about to learn something about humanity. Something that the collective had forgotten in their millennia of easy victories against lesser species. Advanced technology was impressive. Beautiful ships and powerful shields were wonderful achievements. But in a real fight, when lives were on the line and there was no room for error, nothing beat cold, ruthless, practical violence delivered with. The New Horizon hung in space like a wounded animal. The colony ship was never meant for combat. It was a transport vessel, designed to carry 5,000 colonists and their equipment to a new world. Now its hull was torn open in 3 places, atmosphere leaking into the void like blood from wounds. Emergency lights flickered across its surface as the crew desperately tried to keep people alive. 3 Krill warships circled it like sharks. They were ugly vessels, built from parts stolen or scavenged from a dozen different civilizations. Their hulls were covered in mismatched armor plates welded together without care for aesthetics. But they were armed and shielded, and that was all that mattered to pirates. On the bridge of the lead krill ship, Warlord Zachmore watched the human vessel die slowly. He was a creature of nightmares, a being that looked like someone had taken an insect and a reptile and smashed them together. His multiple eyes gleamed with cruel intelligence as he studied the readings. "The ship will be dead within the hour," one of his subordinates reported.
Should we board now and take what we want?
"Not yet," Zachmore replied in his clicking, hissing voice. "Let them suffer a bit longer. Fear makes them easier to control. Besides, I want to see if anyone comes to help them. The Zerathi are too weak to challenge us anymore. If this human ship has friends, I want to see what they're capable of before we expand our raids into their territory." Aboard the New Horizon, Captain Nicole Hayes was doing everything she could to keep her people alive. She was a small woman with short blonde hair and a voice that could cut through steel when she needed it to. Right now she needed it to. Seal sections 9 through 14, reroute life support to the core areas. Get the children to the center of the ship where the armor is thickest. "Captain, the distress beacon is still broadcasting," her communications officer reported, "but the nearest Terran patrol is hours away." "Then we hold out for hours," Nicole said firmly, even though she knew it was probably impossible. That's when the sensors officer shouted, "Contact! New ship entering the system. It's broadcasting Terran identification codes. It's the Valiant." Nicole felt hope surge in her chest for the first time since the attack began. The Valiant was a warship, a real military vessel with weapons and trained crew. But as the tactical display updated, her hope faltered. One battle cruiser against 3 raiders? And the krill had shields that the New Horizons weapons couldn't even scratch. On the Valiant, Daniel stood on the bridge with his command crew around him. The view screen showed the tactical situation in perfect detail. 3 enemy ships, the New Horizon dying, and 5 Zerathi vessels hanging back at the edge of sensor range. The observers arrived quickly, Lisa noted. "They want to see us fail," Maya said. "Captain, I'm reading full shield activation on all 3 krill ships. Their energy weapons are charging. They know we're here. Open a channel to the krill vessels," Daniel ordered. Jake worked his console. "Channel open, sir." "Krill ships, this is Captain Daniel Pierce of the Terran battlecruiser Valiant. You are attacking a civilian vessel under the protection of Earth. Power down your weapons and withdraw immediately, or we will fire upon you." The response came almost instantly. Zachmore's face appeared on screen, and several crew members gasped at his appearance. His voice was translated into English, full of mockery. The humans send their warrior to save them. How noble, how futile. I have been monitoring your diplomatic meetings, little captain. I know your weapons. Kinetic projectiles, chemical explosives, Stone Age technology. My shields will stop your pathetic railguns like they are nothing. Turn around and run or join your colony ship in death. Last warning, Daniel said, his voice like ice. Stand down. Zachmore laughed, a horrible clicking sound. You have no concept of what you face. The Zerathi abandoned your kind of weapons millennia ago because they are useless. Watch and learn before you die. One of the krill ships fired an energy beam at the Valiant. The attack was meant as a demonstration, a warning shot that came close but didn't quite hit. It was intended to scare the humans into retreating. Daniel didn't flinch. Maya, you have weapons free. Show them what obsolete technology can do. Maya's hands moved across her console with practiced precision. She had run combat simulations 1,000 times. She knew every weapon system on the Valiant like it was part of her own body, and now finally she got to use them for real. Firing solution locked. Railgun batteries 1 through 4 firing now. The Valiant's railguns didn't look impressive from the outside. They were just long barrels mounted along the ship's spine. But inside those barrels, electromagnetic coils accelerated tungsten slugs to a significant fraction of light speed. The projectiles weren't guided. They didn't need to be. At that velocity, they were basically unstoppable. 4 slugs crossed the distance between the Valiant and the nearest krill ship in less than 2 seconds. The krill's shields were designed to deflect or absorb energy weapons. They could stop lasers and plasma beams. But kinetic projectiles were different. They were mass and velocity, and the shields treated them like tiny asteroids. The shields tried to slow them down, but the slugs were moving too fast and carrying too much energy. They punched through the shields like they weren't even there, then hit the krill ship's armor. The first slug tore through the forward section, passing completely through the ship and out the other side. The second and third slugs hit the midsection, and the impact released energy equivalent to several tons of high explosive. Metal vaporized. Internal systems exploded. The fourth slug struck the engineering section, and the ship's power core went critical. The entire engagement took 4 seconds. The krill ship broke apart in a ball of expanding plasma and debris. On the bridge of Zakmor's ship, alarms were screaming. Shields held for less than a second. The projectiles went right through. How is this possible? Zakmor stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The Zerathi had told him human weapons were primitive and useless. But the Zerathi had never actually fought humans. They had just assumed. All ships evasive maneuvers. Return fire! The 2 remaining krill ships began firing their energy weapons at the Valiant while trying to dodge. Maya had already anticipated this, deploying countermeasures. Point defense active. Missile pods 1 and 2 launching. The Valiant's point defense system consisted of dozens of rapid-fire lasers designed to intercept incoming projectiles. They worked just as well on energy weapons, dispersing the beams before they could hit the ship's armor. Meanwhile, missile pods along the hull opened and released 20 missiles. These weren't sophisticated guided missiles with advanced AI. They were simple, brutal weapons. Each one carried a nuclear warhead and a basic targeting system. They flew toward the krill ships in a swarm. The second krill ship tried to shoot down the missiles, but there were too many. Its shields flared as the first warhead detonated, the nuclear explosion overwhelming the defensive systems. More missiles got through, more detonations. The shields failed and the remaining warheads struck the hull directly. When the plasma cleared, the second krill ship was a twisted wreck, venting atmosphere and spinning out of control. Zakmor realized he had made a terrible mistake. These humans weren't weak. They weren't primitives playing at war. They were killers, and their weapons were designed with one purpose: to destroy enemies as efficiently as possible. Full speed. Retreat, he ordered. Get us out of here. His ship turned and began accelerating away from the battle, but Maya was already adjusting her firing solution. Target is attempting to flee. Computing intercept trajectory. Don't let it escape, Daniel said quietly. No, sir. The Valiant's forward railgun, its heaviest weapon, fired a single slug. This one was larger than the others, and it had been accelerated to an even higher velocity. It crossed the distance in under 3 seconds. Zakmor saw it coming on his sensors. He tried to turn his ship, tried to do anything to avoid it, but the projectile was too fast. It struck his ship in the engineering section, tearing through shields, armor, and internal systems like they were paper. The power core didn't explode. It just stopped working. All the lights on the krill ship went out. Life support shut down. The ship became a dead hulk, drifting in space. On the Valiant's bridge, there was silence for a moment. Then Jake spoke up. All 3 krill ships neutralized. The New Horizon is hailing us. Captain Hayes is requesting assistance. Daniel let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Dispatch damage control teams to help the New Horizon. Medical teams, too. Let's save those people. Time from first shot to last target neutralized, Maya reported, her voice professional but with a hint of satisfaction. 4 minutes, 17 seconds. Lisa was staring at the tactical display showing the destroyed krill ships and the wreckage floating in space. The Zerathi are still watching. They saw everything. Good, Daniel said. Let them see. They need to understand something. What's that? That there's a difference between advanced technology and combat effectiveness. They've spent millennia building beautiful ships and powerful shields. We've spent millennia learning how to kill each other. Their weapons are designed to look impressive. Ours are designed to win. Peter was running analysis on the battle data. Captain, the krill shields were incredibly sophisticated. They could have stopped any energy. The Valiant's medical bay was full of injured colonists from the New Horizon. Dr. Peter Grant moved between beds, checking vital signs and coordinating with the medical staff. The injuries ranged from minor to critical, but they had saved everyone. Not a single colonist had died, though it had been close. Captain Nicole Hayes stood in the corridor outside the medical bay, her hands shaking slightly as the adrenaline wore off. She had thought her ship and everyone on it was going to die. Then the Valiant had appeared and ended the battle in less time than it took to brew coffee. Daniel approached her, carrying 2 cups of the real thing. You look like you could use this. Nicole took the cup gratefully. Thank you, and thank you for saving us. I've seen the battle recordings. That was the most incredible display of precision combat I've ever witnessed. Maya's a good tactical officer, and we've trained for scenarios like this. Scenarios where you face enemies with energy shields using kinetic weapons that everyone says are obsolete? Daniel smiled slightly. We train for fighting enemies with better technology. The weapons don't matter as much as the training and the will to use them. How are your people? They'll recover. We were lucky you got here when you did. Nicole paused. The Zarathi ships are still out there. They've been requesting a meeting with you for the past 2 hours. I know. I've been putting it off. Wanted to make sure your people were stable first. Captain Pierce, Nicole said seriously. What you did today is going to change everything. Those aliens thought we were primitives. Now they know better? Maybe. Or maybe they'll just think we got lucky. Nobody gets that lucky. You destroyed 3 warships in 4 minutes. That's not luck. That's skill and preparation. Daniel finished his coffee and set the cup aside. I suppose I should talk to them. Lisa's been handling the coordination with our fleet. Admiral Stone is on his way with reinforcements. Admiral Stone? The Richard Stone? You know him? Everyone knows him. He's commanded the 3rd Fleet for 15 years. If he's coming here personally, that means Command is taking this seriously. First contact with aliens who think we're inferior, followed immediately by combat with raiders. Yeah, I'd say that deserves the Admiral's attention. Daniel made his way to the conference room where the Zarathi delegation had been waiting. Thelxara was there, along with War Chief Krant and a new alien Daniel hadn't met before. This one was smaller, almost fragile-looking, with pale skin and oversized eyes. According to the briefing file Lisa had provided, this was Science Officer Tivera, an analyst specializing in military technology. Captain Pierce, Thelxara began, standing as Daniel entered. We have much to discuss. Daniel sat down across from them. I'm listening. Tivera spoke first, its voice quiet but intense. I have analyzed the engagement between your ship and the Krill Raiders. I must confess I am struggling to understand what I witnessed. Your weapons should not have been effective. The Krill shields were designed to stop kinetic projectiles. Designed to stop small asteroids and debris, maybe, Daniel replied. But our railgun slugs aren't asteroids. They're precision-manufactured projectiles accelerated to velocities that generate massive kinetic energy on impact. The shields treated them like debris and tried to slow them down gradually. But there wasn't enough time or distance for that to work. Yes, I see that now, Tivera said. But this means your weapons were specifically designed to counter energy shields. No. They were designed to counter armor and defensive systems in general. We assumed that any enemy we fought would have some kind of protection. So we built weapons that could overwhelm any defense through sheer kinetic energy. Krant leaned forward. Your tactical doctrine is based on the assumption that your enemies will be as well defended as you are. Or better defended, Daniel confirmed. We prepare for worst-case scenarios. Thelxara made a gesture that might have been respect.
Captain, I owe you an apology.
We underestimated your people. We saw your technology and assumed you were less advanced than us. We forgot that advancement in one area does not mean advancement in all areas. You forgot how to fight, Daniel said bluntly. When's the last time the collective faced an actual military threat? The 3 aliens exchanged glances. Tivera answered. The collective has not fought a war against peer opponents in over 1,000 years. Our conflicts have been against pre-spaceflight civilizations or small raider groups. We have always had superior technology, so victory was assured. You've been fighting downward, Lisa said, entering the conference room with Peter. Every enemy you faced was weaker than you, so you never needed to develop real combat tactics. Precisely, Tivera agreed. We relied on technological superiority. It always worked. Until today. Peter sat down next to Daniel. I've been reviewing your shield technology. It's incredibly sophisticated. You can stop energy weapons that would vaporize our ship. But you optimized for one type of threat and ignored others. We thought kinetic weapons were primitive and ineffective, Thelxara admitted. We were wrong. Not completely wrong, Daniel said. Kinetic weapons are primitive. But primitive doesn't mean ineffective. Humans use spears for thousands of years because spears work. We still use them in some situations because sometimes the simple solution is the best solution. Krant made a sound that might have been a laugh. The Drexians abandoned true combat doctrine 300 years ago. We became enforcers for the collective, but we haven't fought a real war since joining them. I watched your engagement and realized something. My people have forgotten how to fight. It's not just you, Lisa said. The entire collective has become complacent. You're so advanced that you forgot what it's like to face a real threat. And now we have one, Thelzara said grimly. The Krill attack was not random. We have been receiving reports for weeks. Krill activity is increasing all along the frontier. They've been testing our defenses and finding them weak, Tavera added. Our analysis suggests they are preparing for a major offensive. They have been raiding the edges of collective space for decades, but we largely ignored them. Now they appear to be organizing into a proper invasion force. Daniel felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. How large of a force? Our intelligence estimates at least 200 warships. 200? Lisa repeated. That's not a raiding party. That's an armada. Yes, Thelzara said. The Krill have been gathering strength while we were complacent. They know we have superior technology, but they also know we haven't fought a real war in centuries. They believe they can overwhelm us through numbers and aggression. Can they? Daniel asked directly. The three aliens were silent for a moment. Then Krant spoke. If we fight them the way we've been fighting, using our standard tactics and assuming our technology will save us, yes, they will destroy us. But you've just demonstrated something, Tavera said, looking at Daniel intently. You showed that combat effectiveness matters more than technological superiority. You destroyed 3 ships in minutes using weapons we considered obsolete. So what are you asking? Daniel said, though he already knew. Thelzara stood and bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. The collective would like to request Earth's assistance in defending against the Krill invasion. We acknowledge that we underestimated your people and your capabilities. We would be honored if you would stand with us. Before Daniel could respond, the door opened and a new figure entered. Admiral Richard Stone was a tall man in his 60s with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen decades of combat simulations. He wore his uniform with the kind of precision that spoke to a lifetime of military service. I hope I'm not interrupting, the Admiral said. My fleet just arrived in system. Captain Pierce, you've been busy. Daniel stood. Admiral, I didn't expect you this quickly. The moment Command got your first contact report, they mobilized everything. The idea that we might not be alone in the universe changed a lot of priorities. Stone looked at the Zirathi delegation. I've been briefed on the situation. The Krill are preparing to invade and you want our help. Yes, Thelzara confirmed. Why should we? Stone asked bluntly. You made it clear you think we're primitives. You accessed our military databases without permission. You mocked our weapons and our tactics. Now you want us to risk human lives defending you? Because the Krill will not stop with the collective, Tavera said. If they conquer us, they will have access to our technology. Then they will turn their attention to humanity. Better to stop them now, while we can fight together. Stone considered this. Fair point. But let's be clear about something. If Earth's forces are going to help defend the collective, we're not doing it as junior partners. We're equals or we're not participating at all. Agreed, Thelzara said immediately. The collective formally recognizes humanity as an equal member of the galactic community. And there's one more condition, Stone added. If we're going to fight together, you're going to learn from us. Your technology is better than ours in many ways, but your tactics are outdated and your combat doctrine is weak. We'll teach you how to actually fight. Krant looked at Stone with something like respect. You would share your military knowledge with us? If we're going to fight side by side, we need to trust each other. That means sharing information and learning from each other. Your shields. The combined fleet gathered at the edge of Zirathi space, and it was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. 80 ships hung in formation against the stars. 40 of them were human vessels, all angles and armor plates and bristling weapons. The other 40 were collective ships, elegant and powerful with their glowing shields and advanced sensors. On the bridge of the command ship, a new heavy cruiser called the Guardian, Fleet Admiral Daniel Pierce watched the tactical displays. He had been promoted after the engagement with the Krill Raiders, given command of the Joint Defense Force. It was a responsibility he hadn't wanted but accepted because lives depended on it. 3 months had passed since the meeting at Sigma 7. 3 months of intensive training, sharing of technology, and preparation for the coming battle. The humans had learned to integrate collective shield generators into their ships. The collective had learned human tactical doctrine and combat procedures. It hadn't been easy. Cultural differences and old prejudices had caused problems. But they had worked through them because they had to. Captain Lisa Barnes now commanded the Valiant. She stood on its bridge checking system readouts. The ship had been upgraded with collective shields, and the combination of human weapons and alien defenses made it a formidable vessel. Maya Crawford was no longer just a tactical officer. She had been given a new role as Chief Tactical Coordinator for the entire fleet. She sat in the Guardian's Combat Information Center, surrounded by displays showing every ship in the combined force. Human and alien officers worked alongside her, all of them speaking the same language of military precision. Jake Morris had his own command now, leading 3 companies of human Marines. They were trained for boarding actions, ready to take the fight directly to enemy ships if needed. He had trained some of the collective species in close-quarters combat, though most of them found the idea of hand-to-hand fighting disturbing. Humans, he had explained patiently, had been killing each other up close for thousands of years. It was just another skill. The Krill Armada appeared on sensors exactly when intelligence said it would. Over 200 ships emerged from faster-than-light travel, filling space with their presence. They were organized into battle groups, moving with coordination that suggested months of planning. On the bridge of the Krill flagship, Warlord Zachmore sat in his command throne. He had survived the battle with the human ship, though his vessel had been disabled. The other Krill had rescued him, and he had spent the time since then preparing for revenge. He had studied the human tactics. He had adapted his strategy, and he had brought overwhelming force. 212 ships, his tactical officer reported. The collective fleet numbers only 80. We have them outnumbered nearly 3 to 1. Zachmore studied the display, noting the mixed fleet. The humans are here. I recognize some of those ship designs. They think their primitive weapons will save the collective. They are wrong. We have adapted our shields to handle kinetic projectiles. Their surprise advantage is gone. What are your orders? Send the standard message. Demand their surrender. Let them know that resistance is futile. The communication went out across all frequencies. Zachmore's voice echoed through both fleets. Ships of the Zarathi Collective and their human pets. You are outnumbered and outgunned. Surrender now and you will be allowed to live as slaves. Resist and you will be destroyed. You have 1 minute to decide. On the Guardian's bridge, Daniel listened to the message without expression. Belzara stood nearby, representing the collective's leadership. The elegant alien looked nervous but determined. They adapted their shields, Belzara said quietly. Our intelligence confirmed it. They know about your kinetic weapons now. We expected that, Daniel replied. Maya assessment? Maya's voice came through the communication system. The Krill have modified their shields to handle kinetic impacts better. Our railguns will still be effective, but not as devastatingly as before. They're using standard battle formations, probably planning to overwhelm us with concentrated fire. Recommendations? We use the combined doctrine. Collective ships provide shield support and electronic warfare. Human ships provide primary offense. We've trained for this, Admiral. The fleet knows what to do. Daniel looked at Thelgzara. Your people are ready? They are. Though I confess I am nervous. We have never fought a battle of this scale. None of us have, Daniel said. But we've prepared as well as we can. Time to see if it's enough. He opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Admiral Pierce. The Krill think they can intimidate us with numbers. They think we'll surrender or run. They're wrong. Today we show them something the galaxy has forgotten. We show them that courage and skill matter more than numbers. We show them that free people fighting for their homes are stronger than raiders fighting for plunder. All ships, battle stations. Prepare to engage. Throughout the fleet, crews moved to their positions. On human ships, weapons were charged and ammunition was loaded. On collective ships, shields were brought to maximum power, and sensors were focused on enemy targets. The two groups had spent months learning to work together, and now it was time to prove that the training had worked. Zachmore watched the minute count down. When it reached 0 and no surrender came, he smiled with his horrible mouth. They choose death. All ships, attack formation. Focus fire on their largest vessels. We will break them quickly and feast on the debris. The Krill Armada surged forward like a wave of metal and malice. Energy weapons charged, missiles were armed, and 200 ships accelerated toward the combined fleet. Maya watched the enemy formation on her displays. She had spent 3 months studying Krill tactics, running simulations, preparing for this moment. They're concentrating their forces into a spearhead formation. They want to punch through our center with overwhelming firepower. Let them come, Daniel said calmly. Execute Plan Alpha 3. The combined fleet began to move. Instead of holding position and meeting the enemy head-on, They split into 3 groups. The center group, made up of heavily shielded collective vessels, accelerated forward. The 2 flanking groups, mostly human ships, moved outward and began to arc around the enemy formation. Zachmore saw the maneuver and laughed. "They're splitting their forces, fools. All ships focus on the center group. Destroy them quickly." The Krill fleet concentrated their fire on the collective ships advancing toward them. Energy beams and missiles filled the space between the 2 forces. The collective shields flared under the assault, absorbing enormous amounts of energy. But the shields held. This was what they were designed for. And while the Krill focused on the center, the flanking groups of human ships moved into position. "Now," Maya said quietly. The human ships opened fire from both sides. Railguns launched their tungsten slugs. Missile pods released their nuclear-tipped weapons. Point defense systems engaged. The Krill suddenly found themselves under attack from 3 directions at once. Their modified shields did handle the kinetic weapons better than before, but they couldn't handle being attacked from multiple angles simultaneously, while also defending against the collective's energy weapons. Ships began to die. Lisa commanded the Valiant with the precision of a surgeon. "Target the ship at coordinates 479. Full railgun spread. Fire." The Valiant's weapons spoke, and a Krill destroyer came apart under the impact. The ship's shields had been focused on the front, expecting an attack from that direction. The flank shot had caught it vulnerable. Throughout the battle space, human ships exploited every weakness. They used the collective vessels as mobile shield generators, protecting themselves while delivering devastating firepower. When Krill ships tried to concentrate their forces, Maya identified the patterns and directed human ships to attack the clusters from unexpected angles. Jake Morris led his Marines in a daring assault. 3 Krill ships had been disabled but not destroyed. Boarding craft launched from human vessels carrying combat teams. They breached the enemy hulls and fought through the corridors, securing the ships and gathering intelligence. The fighting was brutal. The Krill were vicious in close quarters, but human Marines had trained for this. They moved in tight formations, covering each other, using tactics refined in countless wars over thousands of years. The Krill had never encountered enemies who would actually board their ships and fight hand-to-hand. They broke and fled. On the Guardian's bridge, Daniel watched the battle unfold. The tactical display showed the Krill formation falling apart as ships were destroyed or disabled. Their advantage in numbers was being negated by superior tactics and coordination. Zachmore stared at his own displays in growing horror. Nearly 50 of his ships were gone. The rest were scattered, their formation broken. The combined fleet had lost only 6 ships, and all of those had been damaged but not destroyed thanks to the collective shields. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "We have superior numbers. We adapted to their weapons." "They adapted their tactics," his tactical officer said, voice shaking. "They're not fighting the way we expected. They're using the collective ships as shields and attacking us from multiple directions. Our ships are designed for frontal assault. We can't defend against this." Zachmore realized the terrible truth. He had prepared to fight the humans,